Hi, I'm Clark Smith. I'm the winemaker for Smith and also Two Jakes of Diamonds. The Two Jakes wines are all from Diamond Ridge Vineyards in Clear Lake, just in the southeast corner of Clear Lake. It's a wonderful vineyard with a volcanic soil and lake effect, high UV clear air that we have up there because we're not beset with millions of tourists spitting diesel exhausts. It's not a high tourist area, and that means that the air is very clean and the wines come out beautifully fruity with lots of color and tannin, and that volcanic soil gives minerality and a lot of longevity. The vineyard is owned by Jake Stevens. He and his dad are the two Jakes that planted this vineyard together in about 1999. And I've been making the wines there since 2007. Now, way back in 2001, my best friend, Dr. Chip Cassidy, who has the largest private collection of books on wine in the English language, he came up to me in 2001 and he gave me this book. He said, "Clark, this is the best book I've got. You have to read it." And here it is. It's God's Men and Wine by William Younger. Now, a lot of people have heard of this because William Younger died just as the book was being published, and so it didn't get a lot of publicity, but it's a wonderful book about ancient winemaking. And he studied the Egyptians and the Greeks and the Phoenicians, but half the book is about Roman winemaking, and that's because the Romans used Latin instead of cuneiform and hieroglyphics, so it's much easier for us to understand what they were doing. For making wine over 1,000 years, all over Europe, William Younger was able to show that they did not use sulfur dioxide. And I thought that was crazy. You have to have sulfur dioxide. That's what they told us in Winemaker College. So I thought, okay, I'll try it. So in 2001, I did an experiment with a mountain Syrah in a similar location. And by golly, the sulfite-free wines are very interesting. So I did that for a number of years. And then in 2010, I managed to convince Jake to do an experiment where we take some of his Cabernet Franc, which I already thought had amazing aging potential, and make a sulfite-free version, which we now call our Roman Reserve. And it's really a splendid wine. I made this in a conventional way for my own Winesmith label, and it came out like a nice Saint-Emilion, very conventional, but this one is kind of crazy. More like a Barbaresco. So let's get into it. Now, it does have a wax dip. It's a very elegant bottle with this sort of metallized purple wax. And partly we're just trying to show a traditional idea, but it's not a hard wax like you're used to seeing on port bottles. And all you have to do is cut around it and then come in with a corkscrew as if it wasn't there, and you're going to see that it'll pop right off. Just like you would normally do. And there you go. Lifts right off. So don't be afraid of that wax. Now here's the interesting thing about these types of wines. Most winemakers are afraid that if they don't have sulfites that they're going to oxidize. But it's actually the opposite. I don't have oxidation problems with these sulfite-free wines. I have reduction problems. The wines are too closed. They have too flat an aging trajectory. They just age forever. So this is a 2012. It's a baby. So what am I going to do? I'm going to decant it. And I'm going to decant it and give it a good shake. And I'll tell you what, this one will be even better a week from now, sitting in that decanter, because they're just starved for oxygen. And we understand the chemistry of that. It turns out that when tannins polymerize and take up oxygen, we call it oxidative polymerization, that process is short-circuited by SO2, takes it right back to the starting gate, and it actually diminishes the wine's ability to protect itself by a factor of 12. That's sort of like when you take medicine because your pancreas is weak or something. Well, that doesn't make your pancreas stronger, it makes it weaker. So SO2 is a little bit like a medicine that short circuits the wine's natural immune system. So this is very interesting. The other concern people have is that there'll be microbes that will come in and spoil the wine. And what we found out is that the two main spoilage organisms that winemakers worry about are Acetobacter, which can make the wine into vinegar, and Brettanomyces, which can make it smell very earthy. If the wine has an ability to take up oxygen that's much stronger than a sulfited wine, then in fact it controls Acetobacter better than the sulfited wines do. As for Brettanomyces, it's kind of like a hospital disease. It comes in and infects wines that have been kept in a sterile environment. And so, when you don't use sulfites, you get a much richer microbiome of beneficial bacteria that outcompete the Brettanomyces, and we don't have Brettanomyces problems in these wines. So these are very counterintuitive ideas, but I've been doing this since 2001. That's 19 vintages, and so far it's been working pretty well. So I think the Romans knew some things that we didn't know. So let me decant this stuff. I'm going to pour a little bit, just right out of the bottle. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to kind of glug it into the decanter, get some air into it, and then I'm going to actually take it and give it a little shake, just to wake it up. And then I'll compare that. Okay, so now you should try this when you try a bottle of this. Do this experiment, and then leave some of it on the counter for several days, and come back to it then. So, okay, now what I'm getting here, the characteristic of that vineyard is white cherry. So it has a very bright red element to it, but there's also some earthiness, sort of a little stink, H2S or something like that, and the wine's pretty closed. But there is a lot going on in here. I get some green peppercorns, maybe a little sage. So then, just that little shake here, much more open. And this will continue to evolve during your dinner, and you'll get all kinds of different aromas. If I had to pick a wine that you might know that's the most similar to this, it would be Barbaresco. Italian wine with just wildflowers and sachet and garrigue and, you know, all of these crazy aromas all piling after each other. That's what this is like. Okay, and in the mouth, boy oh boy, there's something about allowing the microbiology to go crazy. This is a party in your mouth that enhances this minerality. Now, all of Jake's wines always have, because of the volcanic soil, this buzz in the finish. It's not acidity, but it feels a little like acidity. It's just that it's in the back of the mouth. We don't know exactly what it is, but we sure know that we get it on limestone, we get it on schist, we get it on decomposed granite and volcanic soils and the slates of the Mosel. So particular soils seem to give us that relationship. But whatever's going on, this wine is so energetic and alive in the mouth. It's nothing like any conventional wine you've ever had. And you can kind of see why the Romans would want to make wine like this. Just imagine you're a centurion in a village in Gaul around 100 AD. And You have 99 guys working with you because you're a centurion, and everybody hates you. But you invite the village elders over for dinner, and you don't give them butter because Attila the Hun can make butter. You give them olive oil because it takes 10 years of civilization to get an olive. And then you give them stinky cheeses, and then you serve them this wine. And they taste it, and they've never had anything like it. And on the way home, they look at each other and go, well, maybe we won't stab them in their beds.